Hello and welcome to another episode of the WrestleTalk Podcast. Sorry, I had a thing playing and it was distracting me because I had the stream open. Hi, I'm Joe Pete Quennell. I'm joined by not Tempest, it's SP3. He's stepping in for this podcast today. Get in your Ultrachats at WrestleTalk.com/support because we've got a lot to talk about today. Oh boy. And the first thing we're going to be talking about, you know, it's all about the Butch. He's on SmackDown now. Okay, so let's just say everything that happened. Also, I should say before we get into that, with this stream is sponsored by BetterHelp. That is H-E-L-P, better, H-E-L-P. Go click the link in the description, betterhelp.com/wrestle to get 10% off your first month. Take care of yourself. It's professional therapy done right, securely online. Go do the thing. It's good to help yourself. Support WrestleTalk, support each other, and support yourself. But the first thing we're going to be talking about is this name change. Y'all know Pete Dunne. You know that guy, the guy who at one time was the longest reigning UK champion. Well, he's on the main roster now, and I bet everyone's really excited about it. It's a shame though that he's not called Pete Dunne anymore. He's called Butch. I'm just going to say what happened in the segment, the facts, and then we'll talk about it. So this was in a backstage segment. This was Sheamus and Holland. They had a little recap of the Kofi Kingston Big E stuff that they've been going through. And Sheamus said, "Hey, we got a guy. You may know him by a different name, but I know him by his nickname. He's called Butch." And then Pete Dunne walks in fresh with his chimney sweep cosplay and was just like, he's got a little hat and he's got braces and stuff now. Didn't say anything, but he was there. And then he accompanied them in the match. His name is Butch. Yes. What do you make of this, SP3?
I make of this, do the Young Bucks work in WWE creative? Because they literally called this with Adam Cole, like the whole budge. Like I was totally dumbfounded that this was an accurate depiction of what WWE can name somebody. That it was all a joke on BTE for months that, oh, they were going to change Adam Cole's name to Budge. No, this is real life, ladies and gentlemen. They will take someone who was a mainstay, the face that kind of built NXT UK in Pete Dunne, and bring him over to SmackDown and name him after the villain, the antagonist in Little Rascals from 1930, 40 something. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? And he's dressed like him. Go watch the movie from 1994. I remember it like it was yesterday. That's how Butch dressed too. Like I was dumbfounded by all of this. I saw the report by Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful that there was going to be a name that everybody was going to be upset about, that people were upset about backstage, and then to see it being Pete Dunne, and like I know he's supposed to look all mean, but he just didn't look happy. Like he just like the picture, the first image of Pete Dunne just looks like, man, you just saddled him with one of the worst names you could have possibly done, to follow up with Gunther, to follow up with Dewdrop. This is just the holy trinity of bad names.
Yeah, this was real bad. And I mentioned this in my my edited review that I did on the main WrestleTalk channel, because I had a lot of people that were tweeting me to be like, I can't wait to see you lose your mind on the podcast later talking about Butch. And I watched it and I didn't actually get mad, because I don't have the energy to get mad anymore. Like, this is just what happens now to NXT call-ups. You had Dewdrop, and at the time I thought that was really stupid. I wasn't on the show to talk about Dewdrop, but I thought that was very stupid. I was on the show to talk about Gunther, and that was very stupid. And I got very mad about that because it was a very stupid name change. And then Butch happened, and I'm just like, you know what? This is just the rite of passage in WWE now. The thing is, they have called up so many NXT stars and not done anything with them. They've either used them incorrectly, or barely used them, or changed their name, or buried them from the off, had them lose to Jeff Hardy in a roll-up in 2 minutes. They've done loads of stuff like that to loads of NXT call-ups at this point that I now expect NXT call-ups to be ruined. I have no hope for NXT call-ups. So when someone gets called up to the main roster and then they call themselves Butch, I'm like, yeah, checks out. Like, I don't have the energy to care anymore. They have they have chipped away at my optimism, call up by call up by call up, and now there's nothing left. So Pete Dunne is Butch. Okay. I got nothing else.
I really am just I'm dumbfounded by this decision, because you are associating him with someone that he did associate with in NXT.
Yeah.
But Rich Holland got to keep his name. Like, how is it that Rich Holland got to keep his name, but the one of the longest reigning champions in modern history, a former NXT tag team champion, a former Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic? I better not see the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic trophy say Pete Dunne. It's better be, now you got to change that. It can't even say Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne anymore. It got to say Riddle and Butch won the Dusty Classic back. Riddle and Butch won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic back in 2020.
Yeah,
we're gonna retcon everything.
It's not good.
A Butch Riddle.
Oh God! Like, I don't want to downplay it. This is a terrible decision. This is a really bad name change. Yeah. And I don't want to downplay it by just saying that I don't care. This is a very bad choice and completely nonsensical. There's no need for it when you could just call him Pete Dunne. And there is nothing wrong with that. When he's in a feud with in a faction with Sheamus and Rich Holland, having a guy called Pete Dunne, it fits. It's not like like a Retribution style gang where they all have their own. All those names were also very stupid, but at least they all fit the same kind of tone. And having a guy like Pete Dunne join a Retribution, it wouldn't really make sense with the whole names. But these guys just have names. Pete Dunne fits. You don't need to change that. Why are you changing it? It's nonsensical WWE typical bullshit is what it is. And it's just doesn't make any sense.
It's I kind of feel where you're coming from, though. You can't even get angry with it anymore. It's just you expect it to happen. You expect them to do something to ruin these call-ups. And it's just these are the people that re-signed. Pete Dunne recently re-signed with the company for this. This, I was talking on Wednesday with Tempest. I thought he was going to be in the North American title ladder match. That's a lot better position than what he's in now. What? And now what was going to be probably a 6-man tag with them in the New Day, that kind of seems up in the air now. So this is just a ill-advised decision by a company that is known for ill-advised decisions. And this episode overall just felt are we really in WrestleMania season? You're pushing it, but this was more recap down than SmackDown. There was more recaps on this show than actual matches.
I was going to bring up this point later. In my edited review that I did earlier, I mentioned the word recap 12 times. 12 times for separate recaps. 12 times I brought it up. That is an absurd amount of recapping on this show. Yes. But yeah, that was very, very stupid. What I should have done if I had more time today is something I've done in the past, is gone through and totaled up the amount of time that were actually spent on recaps, because I've done that in the past and it is a lot. It's a lot of time the WWE spends recapping. But anyway, by the by. Yeah, this followed into a tag team match of Kingston and Big E versus Sheamus and Rich Holland, which kind of naturally segues us into the next big talking point that we do want to talk about before we get into some of your Ultrachats, which is a very, very unfortunate spot that happened in this match, where on the outside at the end of the match, Rich Holland tried to do a belly-to-belly to Big E on the outside, but Big E unfortunately landed directly on his head. It looked really rough. That was a horrible spot to watch. And he had to be stretchered out of the arena. And he provided a video update because he's a lovely man and he thought that people would be worrying about him. So he provided an update and said he could still move all his fingers and everything, could still move all the digits, which is great. But they are telling him that his neck is broken, which is horrible for Big E. Big E is not having a good 2022. And this is just, the icing on the cake at this point. I feel really bad for him. And obviously, speedy recovery to Big E. Can't wait to see you back in the ring, bud, because you are amazing. This was horrible. Really, really rough stuff to watch.
like Big E is just such an amazing person, not even just a wrestler or a character that you see on TV. The fact that he felt the need to send out that video because people were really worried about him. Like
Yeah.
that, after the outrage of Butch kind of subsided and we saw that spot and we saw he wasn't moving afterwards. And I just stood there like this after seeing it like immediately because I mean, it just sucks that it had to happen to Big E, someone who is just so loved by the fans, by everyone in the back, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery. You know, everyone here, we want to show our love to Big E, and hopefully he can recover very fast. But it's kind of the position that they kind of put him in, and Rich Holland, I want to say, he's going to get better, but he's still green, and you're in there with somebody and you're trying to move that you probably shouldn't with a guy that size and Big E. A lot of this stuff could have been avoided, but hopefully, Big E can come out on the other side being better than ever before. And hopefully he can get back into a position that he was in before 22, which was WWE champion in the main event scene. Because that's what we all want. We want it. Big E wants it. All the people in the back seem to want it as well. So I just hopefully this is not something that's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. But I mean, all we got to say is just, prayers up to Big E, because it's just really unfortunate that it had to be him in this situation.
Totally, yeah. And it really sucks because hearing him talk about his WWE title reign and what he wanted from it and how he was like disappointed with how it ended and disappointed with what happened, like the aftermath of him dropping it and disappointed being shifted back to SmackDown just to start tagging with Kofi again. Not that tagging with Kofi is a bad thing by any means, but it just felt like more of the status quo, that nothing had changed with Big E's title run, which really, really sucks. He got Kofi'd, essentially. It was yet another example of have a WWE title run, drop it, go right back down to where you were, and nothing's changed, which is really disappointing. And then even through like the tagging with Kofi, we were hoping that maybe they could recapture some of the amazing moments from the New Day of the past, and then now this has come along. We didn't even really get to see a full New Day trio reunion properly with King Woods, because then he went out with an injury. So it was all like, it's all been very, really, really unlucky for the three of them this year so far. And this is just like another example of a lovely person getting screwed over a little bit. And this I don't think this is anyone in particular's fault. Like, no one really did it with malice or anything. It's Rich Holland being a little bit inexperienced, but I don't think it's necessarily entirely like his doing or anything like that. So it's just a very unfortunate situation. And I just feel for Big E so much. And I really hope he can get back soon, because this was really, really unfortunate. But best to Big E, because we love him.
Absolutely. 100%. That's the number one thing we want to get across, is that we want Big E to get healthy, have a speedy recovery. Secondly, like, if WWE wasn't already in flux with what they were doing with the WrestleMania card, this was just like, I kind of have to give them like the benefit of the doubt on the rest of the show, because you could kind of feel that the show was kind of off the rails after that happened. That it's a freak accident, Big E getting injured, but you could kind of tell that the show was kind of frazzled from there. So I kind of, although I didn't think this was the best show, I'm not going to go too hard on it, because I can understand that everything was kind of mishmash after that, because everybody was scrambling after that injury.
Yeah, and I'd like to believe that they had other stuff planned for this show. I don't believe they did, personally.
No.
Which is why I'm kind of like, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I don't think they had anything else planned. I think they were just like, yep, full steam ahead, let's carry on with the show as planned, and it was still a bit bad. But anyway, let's see what you guys think. Let's get into some of your Ultrachats here. Send those into WrestleTalk.com/support. It would really help if I actually had the doc open. Oh, I do. It's on my doc right here. I should. It's weird because I have half the stuff on the laptop in front of me, and then I have half the stuff on the tablet here. So it's like I'm going back and forth between the two. It's a whole thing. Anyway, let's see what you guys are thinking. Where is the doc? Oh my god, I just had it open. I am frazzled today.
I can get the first one. I can get the first one for you. I got it right here.
I've got the doc.
We got is this Lakes? You're gonna have to, yeah, you're gonna have to take over. I can't pronounce that
I
name.
believe this is Lakshmi Narasimhan B, I believe, who said, first, hope for Biggie's speedy recovery to 100%. Second, I know that Pete Dunne becoming Butch sounds like a bad thing, but could have been worse. They could have been having big plans for him. But seriously, Butch, calm down, LMB. At least it's not Slapjack.
I mean,
Sure.
you would have to. I think we would have to put out a poll to ask people what was worse, Slapjack or Butch, because you were getting Shane.
Put out a poll. Did you say SP3? Mudmother, are you listening? Could we get a poll in the chat, please? What's worse, Butch or Slapjack? Thank you.
There you go. See, and you have to understand context before you vote, because Slapjack was Shane Thorne, a member of TM61, really wasn't doing anything on the NXT roster, while Butch is Pete Dunne, one of the biggest stars on NXT like a week ago. So we got to understand context before you vote. But yes.
So that was the name change worse, Slapjack or Butch? Not is the name worse. That's a very important distinction. Yes. David Evans said, hi, Pete and SB3. I'm really looking forward to the rematch from TakeOver New York between Gunther and Butch once the big Austrian gets his call up. In all seriousness, if you're going to refuse to call Walter by his new name, I expect the same for Pete. Yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing. This might be a super controversial hot take right now. I think that Butch has the potential... I don't want to say the potential to get over because that's kind of wrong, but like it doesn't sound as bad as something like Gunther or Slapjack. Butch is just like a one syllable, it's not as cool as Hook, but it's like a Hook Butch, it's like a one word thing that someone could get behind. It's not as bad as something like Slapjack, which sounds ridiculous. Butch at least sounds like, I don't want to say it sounds cool because people are going to take that out of context, but you know what I mean, right? There's a thing there. Help back me up here, SB3. Tell me I'm not crazy.
There was Bushwhacker Butch, so this is like there's a pass with this name, so I can understand where you're coming from. You could do the Sen Butch. Yeah, they already did Sen Veer, so give us Sen Butch. So they can play around with this, and it will eventually get over. Like me myself, yes, I was against the whole Gunther name change, and I wanted to call him Walter for a while, but I've kind of just gone with it, like, all right, WWE, Gunther, the Gunther's gonna have a match. So I know eventually I'm gonna get over this and I'm gonna be okay with calling him Butch. But yeah, it's still gonna bother me at the end of the day. But yeah, I do agree that just a one syllable, it sounds better than a lot of the other name changes they've done.
Absolutely. And it's easy to chant Butch, 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 Butch. Like you can see it, right? It's a thing. I'm not saying that means the name is good, though. We'll get into more of your Ultra Chats later. Keep sending those into WrestleTalk.com/support. Going to go through all of the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. And before we get into reviewing the rest of SmackDown and Rampage, let's say thank you to this video's sponsor, BetterHelp. Who have been amazing sponsors, who have sponsored a few shows of ours now. We're really, really happy that we're sponsored by BetterHelp. That is Better H-E-L-P, not Better Health, BetterHelp. Click the link in the description, betterhelp.com/wrestle. Automatically use the code WRESTLE. You get 10% off your first month. Like I said, we're really happy that we've got BetterHelp on board because we're strong proponents of taking care of yourself, of mental health and things like that. There's been a couple of members of the WrestleTalk team who've actually used BetterHelp. 10% and Andy have both given their stories of how they've used it and it helped them. And it's a place where you can get a professional licensed therapist within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online. It's available worldwide as well. So there's no restrictions from where you are in the world. And especially with all the stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, having someone to talk to release a lot of stuff that's on your mind or on your chest or whatever is so crucial in today's world. And we're really, really strong proponents of mental health. So please go check out betterhelp.com/wrestle. Take care of yourself. Support WrestleTalk. Support yourself. Support each other. And go do the thing. It's very important, and we're really, really happy that they're helping sponsor the show. Thank you so much, BetterHelp. Go click that link. Well, shall we get into reviewing the rest of this show? SmackDown, or as you called it earlier, Recap-down, which is very appropriate, the show started off with a recap of Lesnar and Reigns from Madison Square Garden. Great. You can tell that they really love this angle. They love the shot of Reigns standing over Lesnar with both the titles because they played it so many times on Raw. They kept talking about it. They played it twice on this show, kept talking about it again. And that was even with an angle with Lesnar in it on this show. They still found ways to play that Madison Square Garden stuff. They bloody love this angle for whatever reason.
And that was what all the hype was. Like, people thought it was based on the mystery opponent, but the reason why, you know, Sean had the report, oh, something big's about to happen, and WrestleVote said, oh, keep your eyes on the Madison Square Garden, is because WWE thought this angle was the biggest thing possible. This is how we really get things going between Roman and Brock. This is going to sell a bunch of tickets for Sunday night. And, you know, most of us have just been responding like, okay, it happened. Yeah, he's bleeding. Okay, that's new. That's different, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, but WWE is just like, oh my god, this is the greatest WrestleMania angle we have ever produced.
Biggest WrestleMania match of all time: Reigns versus Lesnar. Well, Brock Lesnar came out to start the show after the recap. He was a very serious cowboy this time, and then said in his promo, he doesn't care about WWE titles, and then threw his title away to the commentary table. And I was like, you can't be saying that, Lesnar. You can't be saying... I know that's true. I know you don't care, but also, way to undersell the entire point of the gimmick at WrestleMania. Like, come on, dude.
This is now, he's tossed both titles on WWE televised programming. Once on last night on SmackDown, and then that WWE doc of WrestleMania 34 where he tossed the Universal title. So he does not give a crap about the two titles that they are basically pushing as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time.
Unbelievable. Like, his promo was good. He got very fired up, and I liked the point he was making. It's like, hey, this isn't really about the titles anymore. This is about me and you. I want your blood. Let's go, Roman. Like, blood for blood. You made me bleed at Madison Square Garden. Now I want to make you bleed. Get your ass out here right now. I thought the sentiment behind the promo was okay, but him throwing the title away and saying, like, I don't care about titles anymore. It's like, that really undersells the point of the WrestleMania match and the whole title unification thing and all that stuff, which I didn't agree with. But the sentiment behind the promo I thought was very good. And I liked him getting fired up. I thought he sounded pretty good on that, because Brock has a tendency when he gets fired up to sound a bit goofy, as he has in the past. But he didn't sound goofy here, I don't think. So that was thumbs up from me. But Paul Heyman came out instead of Roman Reigns. And maybe you can shed some light on this for me, SP3. When people say, this person isn't here tonight, I always say, why? Why aren't they there? Aren't they paid to be there? Who gets to choose if they're there or not? Do they just decide that they don't want to go that night and they go, okay? Like, does anyone book the show? Or do wrestlers just show up and then they go, okay, we'll put you in a match because you're here today? What? Any ideas? Why wasn't Roman there?
You know, back in the day, it used to be like, oh, this person's on the European tour, so they're not here this week, or they have like the autograph signing, so that's why they're not here. No, nowadays, they just be like, nope, they're not here this week. And this is like the third or fourth time they've done this with Roman. And I don't remember the last time that they told us Roman wasn't on the show and it was a really good show. Like, I don't know if having Roman off this week to prevent, you know, the face-to-face between him and Brock so you can promote it for next week is worth the quality of the show going down due to no Roman. Like, he is kind of the glue or the rising tide that lifts all ships on SmackDown. So without him, everything else feels less important. This segment felt important because you had Paul Heyman, you had a fired up Brock Lesnar, the chase through the backstage area. That was fun. I was wondering where the hell the Usos were, because I was like, the Usos, aren't they like with Paul Heyman, and like shouldn't they be protecting Paul Heyman, not the security? So I was wondering that as well, but they didn't want to make that connection, so it's fine. I'll leave that alone. But this segment was okay for what it was, but I don't understand leaving Roman off this week because it definitely hurt the overall show.
For sure, yeah. And Brock Lesnar said, Paul Heyman said, Roman Reigns isn't here tonight, which is protecting you, Brock. And Brock said, well, who's going to protect you, Heyman? And then started chasing him. Heyman started running through the backstage area with Lesnar chasing him. He gets into a car that was waiting for him and he speeds off and Lesnar can't get him. Grr, frustration. That was how they built this feud. I'm not more excited for it than when the show began. It was nothing, really. It was all right.
No, we just saw the further evolution of the Pokemon Cowboy Brock into angry Cowboy Brock and fast Cowboy Brock too, because he almost caught up to that limo too. So I just wanted he had to stop himself before he caught up to it. And shout out to Dalton Castle's boys, because that was the two that he pushed, the security guards that he pushed in the backstage area.
Nice, very good. We then got the introduction of, first we got a recap. Let's keep count of those. That's two. Of the Kofi Big E Sheamus Ridge stuff. We got the introduction of Butch. And then we had that tag team match, which we spoke about, which was rough for Big E. Butch, it feels weird to say, caused the distraction, which allowed Sheamus to get the win on Kofi. And then post-match Butch beat down Kofi afterwards as well, and then Sheamus and Ridge Holland were like holding it back, being like, "Oh, calm down, man." So I'm guessing he's kind of like the loose cannon of the group.
Yeah, all right. He's the angry little man of the group. So I don't know how this is going to work, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't know, because you were using Sheamus to kind of bring up Pete Dunne. Bring up Ridge Holland and get him seasoned. He's still green. He needs that experienced person by his side. And now you're just giving him another person that's kind of new to the audience. But you could have just continued with his name and it would have been a better transition than this, where now Sheamus kind of has to be the guy to kind of bring up two guys that they're introducing because you changed Pete Dunne's name. It feels like working in reverse a lot with WWE.
Very much so, yeah. We then got, oh my god, this bit really broke me in terms of the recaps. We got a recap of Owens calling out Stone Cold. And then it goes to an ad break. And then it comes back to a video package where Kevin Owens calls out Stone Cold again. It's like, we just saw that before the ad break. Oh, this company. I swear to God.
And then it was just all out of place because they did that recap. Go to commercial. Then they show us all the headlines of Stone Cold already accepting the invitation. Then they show us again the challenge. Then they go into Stone Cold accepting the invite. I was like, what? Why did you do it this way?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Me and Thomas talk about it all the time. The pacing of these shows is so abysmally bad. And this is what we're talking about when we say this. Like, who wants to watch a show where you watch something, you have an ad break in the middle, so you're not watching the show, and then when you come back, you have stuff out of order about stuff you've already seen? Like, you're not watching anything new on this show. It's all just stuff you've already watched. Oh, goodness me. Stone Cold accepted his challenge, obviously, if you haven't seen. The whole build for this is so weird because they're not saying it's a match, but Stone Cold is saying, oh, it's been 19 years. It's like, no, it hasn't. You've been on TV a couple years ago. Like, what are you talking about? You've appeared at several Manias. Like,
he was at the last WrestleMania in Dallas, Texas, and I also mentioned on the NXT review, Wade Barrett also reminded us that he got a stunner at the last WrestleMania in Dallas. The WrestleMania before that was in Texas. He went into the Hall of Fame, had a whole big entrance at WrestleMania 25. He was the special guest referee at WrestleMania 20. He was already on a talk show at WrestleMania 21 on Piper's Pit with Carlito coming out, and he stunned both guys. Like, he's been at 8 different WrestleManias since his retirement. Why are y'all acting like this is something new? Like, if it was a match, I was like, there was so many other ways to do this besides the KO show. It's Stone Cold, an unsanctioned fight. an open challenge, a brawl. You could have called it so many different things, but to kind of put it into the vise of a talk show that is going to get physical, I'm just like, this is like they are actively working against themselves. They're working harder, not smarter.
Yes, totally. And the weird thing for me is how they framed this response from Stone Cold, because they had like the call out from KO and it switched like this whole, I don't even know the name of the thing, the 4-wheel cart thingy that he drives, whatever the hell it's called.
4x4 ATV,
Sure.
it's been called, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is, one of those things. It shows him driving through like the Texas country or whatever, and the mountains in the background and all that, and it gets out and it pans up from his feet all the way up, and you show like, oh my god, it's Stone Cold. It's like, we've seen him a lot. Like, he's on like the Stone Cold podcast that you promote all the time. Like, you've shown clips from the show. Like, we've seen Stone Cold recently on WWE TV. Like, it's not a crazy revolution to be like, oh my god, that's Stone Cold now? Like, I haven't seen him in 19 years. It's not like some sort of big revelation, but they were playing it like it was. Really weird way to do it. And it was just, the whole promotion of this whole thing is so strange. And it feels like, it's just a thing with WWE marketing as a whole, of saying like, oh, it's the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania. It's the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. It's 19 years since this thing. It feels like if you don't pay attention, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention, you get nothing out of it. It's actively detracting from your enjoyment. And that annoys me, because they don't reward their loyal fans.
No, like this episode in a nutshell, like the amount of recaps, like I always try to watch WWE as a casual fan, and sometimes that works out very well, because if you're a casual fan, this is your first time watching, they recap everything. So you know what everything is up to pace before, there's any action or promo. You know exactly how we got to this place. So they do that. I want to find a wrestling promotion that kind of does the balance, because when you watch AEW, for a new fan, you might not know anything that's going on, and it's just all action. You might like it, but you're not going to really invest in the characters because you don't know how they got here. Where WWE, they just go over the top with just, this is how we got here. This is how we got here. This is how we got here 3 times in one show. Like, I'm like, why am I watching this week to week? I should just take a couple of weeks off and then come back, and I think I would enjoy it more.
Totally. When I've had weeks off and not had to watch a SmackDown, I've then enjoyed the week after. So be like, oh, recaps of stuff I hadn't seen. That's cool. It breaks you when you watch a week to week. Speaking of recaps, we got a recap of Sami Zayn losing the IC title from last week. Johnny Knoxville then doxed Sami Zayn, got his number, and then put it on a plane and flew it over LA. And then Sami Zayn cut a promo saying he's going to win the IC title back and he's going to face Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania. This is all fine. WWE really hyping this thing to be like, oh my god, 11,000 messages on Sami Zayn's phone. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. I just don't care about that. Like, I know it's not real. He hasn't actually doxed him. Like, geez.
I really have been enjoying this Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn, mainly because of Sami Zayn, because he just makes this work. But this actually feels like a WrestleMania buildup. It started before the Royal Rumble. It was progressed in the Royal Rumble with Sami eliminating him. It's been going on in different places. They've gotten the media involved, TMZ's involved. This feels like this checks all the boxes for a WrestleMania buildup. I'm just quite baffled that this is the only one, though. Like, this and Roman and Brock are like the only 2 matches that feel like WrestleMania, but they're kind of working against Roman and Brock by giving this greatest wrestling match ever type of build with the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. So in my eyes, Knoxville and Zayn are the best feud. It's them, then AJ and Edge, and then Roman and Brock.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. You know what isn't great? Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Goodness me. So this was supposed to be... By the way, I hope you really enjoyed that little brief match of Biggie and Kofi versus Sheamus and Ridge, because we didn't get an actual match for a while after that. Because this was supposed to be a match. Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders versus Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, and Jinder Mahal. Did you pick up on the new name they've got for Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss? They're calling them the Happy Folks. Not a fan.
I'm hoping they drop it because they dropped what I thought was a good improvement when they were starting to call the end of days happy days. They dropped that pretty fast. So
Oh,
hopefully,
that's clever.
yeah, that was clever. Like I was like,
Yeah.
they should have kept that going, but they started calling it end of days again. So hopefully this happy folks thing is something they're trying and they eventually drop.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be that 6-man that I mentioned, but after Drew McIntyre entered, Viking Raiders were supposed to enter, cuts to backstage, and they're getting beaten up by all the heels, including Shanky as well. And then all the heels come out to beat up Drew McIntyre. He stands tall for a bit, but then the numbers game. But then he comes back again, and he stands tall. He takes his sword, and I was like, oh my god, he's going to kill Shanky. And then instead, no, he just pointed at the WrestleMania sign, and then said he's going to beat Corbin or whatever.
Pete is so desperate for something interesting to happen on this show. He wants someone to get stabbed with a sword.
Like Shanky was still in the ring. That's the thing, right? Is he beaten up everyone? Shanky was still lying there in the ring, and then he went and grabbed this sword. I was like, why is Shanky staying in the ring? What's he gonna do? And then Shanky just rolled out, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, that makes way more sense. Like, what's going to be the payoff to the sword, SB3? He's got to kill a man. Like, that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, I would hope so. Like, I mean, he's a murderer already. He killed the thing that was in Eric Rowan's cage. So he does have a history of murdering things. So hopefully they can give us, like, some type of something in a cage or something that Shanky walks around with. Or once they figure out that Shanky is too green to be on main roster, they want to send him back to NXT, that's how we write off Shanky. With Angela.
Kills him. All right.
and then he'll come back and his name will be Dutch or something like that. Who knows? Sounds good to me.
Perfect, yeah. So after that, we got another recap of Rousey versus Deville. We then got an in-ring promo segment with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair.
I think that was 5 or 6 recap now.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah. And then, yeah, Ronda Rousey came out and did a promo saying that... Oh, we also had a little video package of Lita for Women's History Month, which was cool. Rousey now said that she also has an ankle lock now in homage to her first mentor, Kurt Angle. And I was like, can she say that? Can she mention Kurt? I thought that was a bad name. He's not in the company anymore. You can't do that. But I thought that was good. That was nice continuity. I like that that was the her first match in WWE was the mixed tag at WrestleMania 34. So I really like that she kind of brought that back. I like that she has another move that's not just the armbar because I was getting a bit bored of it a little bit. Yeah. So it's nice that she's got the multiple moves now that can put people away. But then Charlotte came out, and Rousey's promo wasn't great. She's not a super great promo as it is. Charlotte came out. And Charlotte tried, but man, the content that she was given wasn't great because she said that in front of her, she sees nothing but a one-trick pony. And then she immediately said, well, you might have a new trick with an ankle lock. And I'm like, that makes her more than a one-trick pony, Charlotte. That's 2 tricks. That's just math. Which, fine, whatever. And then, she was saying that Charlotte was saying that, I won't be tapping out at WrestleMania. And then Rousey goes, but you already did. And Charlotte was like, yeah. Like she did. She tapped out already last week. She's right. I got well mad about that story, SB3. When Charlotte was saying last week, oh, I've never been tapped out. I was like, first, that's a lie. Yes, you have. And 2, even if you haven't, you then got in the ring and then tapped out immediately. Like, why can't WWE tell a story? It makes me so annoyed.
They literally tell you something to set up what's going to happen in the very next minute, basically. Yeah. Because, like when Ronda said that, I was just like, no, I'm pretty sure that's how Sasha Banks beat Charlotte Flair every single time she won the Raw Women's Championship in 2016 was by the bank statement in some different way. Then I got corrected that it's not just Sasha, it's also Asuka and Natalya and Becky. They've all submitted Charlotte, so it's just like, why are we even telling this story? Or you could say she's never been submitted at WrestleMania. Why not make it about WrestleMania? You're not saying that Roman and Brock is the biggest match ever. You're saying it's the biggest WrestleMania match ever. So why not focus in on it being at WrestleMania? That Charlotte Flair has never been submitted at WrestleMania. That could have been the big selling point. And then, everything that's happened since then would have worked a lot well, because then it would have been, oh, she can make her tap out, but can she do it at WrestleMania? That needs to be the question. You need to frame it in the right way. And yeah, this promo segment didn't work. Ronda just doesn't show a lot of energy when she's out there alone. And then, like you said, Charlotte did her best, but she had nothing to work with. So this didn't work. And what they did later on in the night, I felt like did work. So I'm like, keep it more physical and less talking with these two. And I think that they will be on the right path heading into WrestleMania.
Absolutely. Also, when Charlotte got out of the ring, she then said, uh-oh, twice. And I was like, don't bring that back. That was real bad when you did it the first time. Don't do it again.
Reminded me of my daughter. My daughter says "uh-oh" and "oh no" all the time. So it's just like, if you're copying off a 2-year-old, you should probably just stop. And Charlotte, there's better. I know you're tall, but there's better ways to go in and out of the ring, because people got the Britney Spears shot when she got out the ring this week. So
yikes.
Let's do it in a different way,
Yeah, that makes sense. After that, we then got, was it probably a recap? Oh, it was. It was the recap of earlier on the show. It was Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. All right, we've already seen it. It was on this show, but thank you. And then we got, steady on, we got a wrestling match.
What?
Crazy. I know. Wild. Sorry. No, first we need to do an ad for Toyota with Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Let's get that out of the way first. And then we can do an ad break, actually, before we do the match. And then we can have a match for 3 minutes. Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Banks won.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say. It was nothing.
There was nothing to this, and I'm pretty sure they changed this match about 3 times before the show actually happened, because I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be Sasha versus Zelina. It was announced last week on the show, and then before the show, they said it was going to be Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha and Naomi, and then it became Sasha and Naomi versus Shayna and Natalya. And then you would think the point is to get those two into the match at WrestleMania, but then they lose after cheating? Like, okay.
The thing is, like, I can understand changing it from Zelina and Carmella versus Banks and Naomi. If you were going to have Banks and Naomi win, don't pin your champions. Say that all the time. That's fine. If you don't want to pin your champions, makes sense. Change it up. You could do the singles match between Zelina and Sasha. That makes sense. You can pin your champion there because it's a singles match rather than a tag match. You can kind of protect him in that sense. I don't mind them beating Shayna Baszler and Natalya. If Baszler and Natalya aren't factoring into the WrestleMania tag title match, just give your challengers some wins. Fine. It's just a bit bland. It was 3 minutes of nothing. So, not the worst thing, but nothing really too much to it.
Not gonna remember it tomorrow, probably.
No, absolutely not. If for those of you keeping track, got another recap of Boogs and Nakamura being attacked by the Usos. Then we got a recap of the Usos beating the Viking Raiders. Then the Usos came out, and then we got the Instagram post of the Madison Square Garden angle with Reigns and Lesnar. Guys, can I watch a show? Like a new one? Have you got new content for us to watch?
I feel like I'm watching a year-end episode of SmackDown. I'm watching a year-end episode of SmackDown with some matches sprinkled in.
It's absolutely wild. The Usos say they don't have any WrestleMania challenges. They get interrupted by Boogs and Nakamura, who say that they want to fight at WrestleMania. And Jimmy then makes a challenge and says, if you can beat main event Jey Uso right now, then we'll give you a WrestleMania tag title match. Rick Boogs came out with a heavily bandaged up knee, selling the attack from last week. And then as soon as the match gets made, he kind of takes off the bandages on the knee. It was all a ruse. Oh, no, he's perfectly healthy. And then he beat Jey Uso in 2 minutes. I don't know if I like that.
Main event Jey Uso, the guy that, we all were so excited for being elevated. And I've kind of been making this point for a few months now. Does anyone get help by feuding with Roman Reigns? Like really? Kevin Owens was kind of back in limbo after his feud with him. Jey Uso is exactly where he was for the last 10 years, back with the Usos in a WrestleMania tag team title match that no one is going to care about. And then this match here, he doesn't even land a move. Like, it literally was Boogs doing power stuff, doing the suplex on one knee, doing the gorilla press. Then when he gets distracted, he blocks what Jim and Jay's gonna do and then finishes him off. Like, I was like, you have totally just ruined any of the. If anyone remembered what they did with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, it's completely forgotten after this match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was insane. I don't understand how you can make a character so compelling and you make an audience want to see eventually long-term storytelling, that thing that WWE supposedly do, long-term story of why you want to have Jey Uso turn on Roman Reigns, and people are going to be so excited to see that happen because of the manipulation that went into it. It was one of the most compelling stories that WWE has ever done. And then he's just a dude. Now, you just throw it all away. For what? For Rick Boogs? Disappointing.
To build up the Intercontinental Champion that you never gave a title match or a title defense to, besides one time in his 6-month reign with the title. And now we're pushing his guitarist, his musician that plays him down to the ring over one of your most decorated tag teams of all time.
Don't get me wrong, I think Rick Boogs is quite impressive in the ring. His power spots are really going to get over with the casual audience as well, because they look visually very impressive. And that's really cool, just not at the expense of Jey Uso, who you've built up to be kind of this protected figure. But hey-ho, is what it is. Jimmy smashed the guitar over Boogs after the match as well. There's your Mania program. I expect Nakamura and Boogs to win at Mania.
Yeah.
Cool.
I could see that. I mean, they really were pushing how long the Usos have held the titles, that they're the longest reigning tag team champions. And yeah, I mean, it would create some doubt in Roman and Marq if the Usos did lose. So I can understand it from the WWE mind state. It would create some doubt for the fans. So I can understand that.
Yeah. We then got another recap of something we've already had recapped, which was Zayn versus Ricochet from last week. And then we got the main event, except we didn't, because it was supposed to be Sami Zayn versus Ricochet in the main event for the Intercontinental title. And you know what? Main event of SmackDown, Intercontinental title defense, Sami Zayn, Ricochet. This could be really something quite special. Still got loads of time left on the show as well. This could be a really long match. Awesome. They both came out, and then out came Austin Theory. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Then Austin Theory motioned like he was going to join commentary, got a seat and sat down next to Pat McAfee on commentary. Except then he didn't join commentary. And then the match didn't start. And then Pat McAfee and then Austin Theory decided to not sit next to Pat McAfee anymore. And then got up and then went round in front of the table and then slapped Pat McAfee. And then they brawled for a bit. And the brawl was fun. Pat McAfee showing a bit of fire and kind of getting in his face. And then both of them got ejected. Solo Michael Cole commentary for the main event, though. But this all felt very clunky. And in this whole time, the main event match didn't start. And then, of course, we had an ad break. And then the match started. So it was all like, none of the pacing really worked for me. It was nice seeing Pat McAfee get a bit of fire and a bit intense and a bit physical with Austin Theory. But none of this really made any sense. This was very superficial and very clunky.
Yeah, it was kind of like they wanted to give the Intercontinental title match the main event, but had no belief that they could retain the fans for it. So we have to put the Pat McAfee and Austin Theory angle at the start of this. Then we'll let them have their match. Then at the end of this, we'll do a Ronda and Charlotte because we still got to close off with one of our main event angles. So it was like 1996 WCW when they put out a long cruiserweight match in the middle of WCW Nitro, and then they would go backstage to what the NWO is doing and what the Horsemen are doing, and that's pretty much what WWE did here. They put out a good match, which was good enough between Ricochet and Sami. I felt like last week was better. even though that was just a sprint, and I love that match. But this week it just felt like it was kind of superficial putting them in the main event. I like Ricochet, standing tall and getting the victory, and especially hitting the 630, hitting all of that on
like it sucked to take.
You could see the wind going out of Sami's body as he got hit with that. And him and Ricochet worked very well with each other. I like the reversals they were doing with Sami, like catching him in midair with the sit out power bomb, catching him in midair for the blue thunder bomb. So those were great spots. They worked very well with each other, but this felt like a superficial main event. We're going to put these guys in the main event scene, but it's not really about them.
Absolutely. And don't worry, guys, still got room for one more recap as well, because in the middle of this match, after they come back from an ad break, they then play the full screen like, moments ago, here's the Pat McAfee Austin Theory brawl. And it's like, the match is happening right now. Like, I'm really glad that nothing important is obviously happening. Jesus. So then they show that. The match I thought was good. Like you said, I thought last week's was better, but this was still good. It was easily the best match on the show. Not very hard to beat. And yeah, it was good. It was nice to see Ricochet standing tall, like you said. And I thought, like, hey, that's really cool. Main event slot for the Intercontinental title. Ricochet standing tall. He won clean, no like shenanigans or anything. And it was a good match. And it's nice to kind of have the show end on a nice positive note. Ricochet standing tall. Jump cut. Here's Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair brawling backstage. It's like, oh, of course, yeah. How could I be so stupid? This brawl though, I thought was good. It kind of came out of absolutely nowhere, and Charlotte was wearing a completely different outfit from what she was wearing earlier. So I was like, when did this happen? Is this now? Is this earlier? Is this yesterday? What's going on? But the brawl I thought was quite good, got quite intense. Lots of people trying to separate them. Charlotte suplexed Ronda onto a car, which was cool. And then kind of got on and kind of like choked her out and was like pulling the sides of her mouth and stuff like that. Really like intense, like physical stuff. Flair stood tall. Thought it was quite effective. This was probably the only thing on the show that I think properly furthered the feud effectively, aside from maybe the Pat McAfee stuff. Was probably the only thing on the show I think that actually made me go like, okay, I'm more excited for the match than I was before.
Yeah, and it really feels like they are pushing this as a main event for WrestleMania with like brawls like this, but it really feels like this was kind of added on, and they told Charlotte, yeah, you're going to do a backstage brawl. And she was like, well, I can't do it in this dress and these high heels, so let me go change and stuff. So that's what I wish they would have done it like we see Ronda going to leave and then Charlotte attacks her instead of going into it as they are brawling, which was kind of confusing at the start. I like this, and like I said, more of this, less of them talking, please.
100%. But that is literally how the show went off the air, with Charlotte standing tall. I
don't know if you have the count for recaps, but 27 minutes of in-ring action. I did tally that up.
Honestly, that's higher than it is sometimes. So, is what it is, I guess. God damn. I think it was 12 recaps total, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's too much. Too much recapping. Goodness me. Please have a new show with new content. I thought this show was a lot of nothing. Like I said, like we've mentioned several times, it's a lot of recaps. The wrestling on the show was fine to good. There was nothing, I don't think, actively bad, but there wasn't that much wrestling on there. A lot of the angles were superficial, didn't really build the stories too much. There was a couple that were okay. Also Butch. Also Big E's injury, which wasn't great. So it just kind of dragged. And that one was no one's fault in particular, but it does drag the show down. So for me, this was a 2 out of 5 show. I'd have given it
Yeah, I'd probably go 1 out of 5.
That's totally fair, man.
I like Ricochet and Sami. I like Pat McAfee's fire. I like the ending sequence, but yeah, other than that, this was a rough show to get through with as many recaps as we got.
For sure. I haven't taken a screenshot of the poll that I put on the community tab, but I do have the results here. It seems like the 1 out of 5 is definitely in the you're in the majority there, because 46% of people voted for a 1 out of 5 show. 26% voted for a 3 out of 5 show. 19% voted for a 2 out of 5, and then at 5% each for a 5 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5 respectively. I mean, that checks out. I think a lot of people were really down on the Butch name change, and of course the Big E injury, which again, that's not WWE's fault for that, but it does bring the mood down. It's just an inevitable part of it, especially because like that match as well, I already knew ahead of time that Big E got injured. I'd already seen the news that it had happened before I watched the match. So I was essentially just waiting for that injury to happen, which really took me out. I just couldn't get invested in the match at all, which again, no one's fault, but is what it is. Just kind of brings the show down. But regardless, let's talk about AEW Rampage right now. Let's see if I can move this over. Do I have the thing ready? Do I have the thing ready? There it is. Rampage. Yay. Nice. So yeah, let's talk about this show, which honestly, it was fun. Wasn't too much to it, but it was a bit of fun. Started off immediately with Darby Allin versus Marq, Quen, which was a fun little match. Again, nothing too crazy going on as part of the actual match itself. But I thought it had a really fun, inventive finish with Marq, Quen going for a shooting star that Darby Allin countered into a Fujiwara armbar. I didn't even see how the counter happened. I just saw like he went for the shooting star and he's in a Fujiwara. I was like, how did you even get there? But really, really smooth stuff. Really enjoyed it. And Darby Allin, of course, got the win. I thought it was very, very fun. Nice little opener.
I thought Marq Quen was great in this match, and this is like kind of his second big like singles match that he had. He really impressed in his TNT title match with Cody Rhodes back in 2020. I know he was hurt for a period of time, so that's why we saw more Isaiah Cassidy than him for a while. We didn't see Private Party teaming, so I like this opportunity with him, going against someone that's a little bit smaller than him, so he got to dominate a little bit. That he did like a moonsault into a double stomp, then the 450 on the outside. I was just like, ouch to both of them. That had to hurt both guys. And then, like you said, the finishing sequence was really cool with Darby kind of switching it up, because we've usually seen him win with the coffin drop. If he doesn't win with the coffin drop, he'll win with the Last Supper. This time he wins with a submission. And I really enjoyed, the post match with just Darby and his facial expression. So Darby, stood out in the ring as well as just character work as well.
Yeah, in the post-match angle, the Andrade family office, I guess you call it now. What is it? Andrade
AFO?
Yeah, the AFO. Sure, why not? They come out and they look like they're going to ambush Darby Allin and Sting after the match. But then the Hardy Boys come out onto the ramp and the AFO kind of scatter and don't attack anyone. But the Hardy Boys just kind of stay on the ramp, kind of sharing looks with Darby Allin and Sting in the ring, being like, hey, you had our back before, we got your back now. That's cool, kind of mutual respect, but also like a bit of tension between them. Feels like we could be going into a feud maybe at some point with them. Cool stuff. Liked it.
Yeah, I think this sets up like a 4-on-4 with the Hardy, Sting, and Darby versus AFO, and then you can do the tag team matchup maybe at Double or Nothing or something like that. That would be very cool, and it'd be a big matchup for the Hardys at their like first pay-per-view. But I like the decision to have the Hardys come out in full Hardy gear. That was very nice. The only disappointment is Jeff. This was the time to have the opportunity to dance. You could have danced. And no one was gonna get hurt. He decided he's gonna be mellow on a Friday night. He was a little bit more mellow than Wednesday.
Absolutely. I could not get over that when Hardy came out on Wednesday and then on the while running, quickly dance and then carry on running. Like, come on, Jeff. Your brother's getting choked out. We then had a promo with Men of the Year and Dan Lambert. Scorpio Sky only has the one belt. Hallelujah. Don't have two belts anymore. I thought that looked very stupid. But Scorpio Sky just has the one belt, saying that he's now the face of TNT. Very cool. Saying that they're going to right the wrong of Wardlow, essentially, which was cool. Because obviously we're having that Wardlow Scorpio Sky match next week. Who do you think is winning that? Because at one point in time, I definitely would have said Wardlow, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, and Scorpio did explain on his social media that Dan Lambert, he has all the championships that he's won with American Top Team, so he gave one of the TNT titles to him, and he's going to hold that one. I was under the belief that Wardlow was going to win this coming week on Dynamite, but based on his promo, as well as, putting the title on Scorpio Sky, it felt like a long build up to it. And he's the first African-American male singles champion in the company. It would be a bad look the following week to have him lose the title, but you already have the open excuse that Wardlow still has his issues. It still has the open case with MJF and Shawn Spears, because Shawn Spears hasn't been really mentioned, and I feel like it's more likely that he'll get involved before MJF on Wednesday to cost Wardlow this victory. But and Scorpio Sky, I'm a big Laker fan. He's a big Laker fan. I need to see Scorpio Sky with the TNT Championship in June at the Forum in Los Angeles. So I want Scorpio to win this Wednesday.
Totally fair. Yeah, I also think that someone or something is going to cost Wardlow in that match, which is a shame because I do really want to see Wardlow with the TNT title, but now is not the time. Now that you've just switched the title on Scorpio, now's not the time to do it, which is a real shame, but is what it is. House of Black cut a promo. I don't know what they're talking about, but it sounds kind of cool. So that's all right. And they look great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We then had Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Martinez. I thought this was a really fun match. Got given a little bit of time. I thought they worked really well together, better than I thought I was expecting them to. Jamie Hayter eventually won after a bit of distraction, but some of the spots they got in this match were really, really cool. Suplexes into the corner, really nice counters, really stiff strikes and stuff like that. It was really, really good. Really, really liked this match. Yeah, Jamie Hayter with the win. Thought this was nice.
This was physical. They were hitting each other hard, and Jamie getting the win surprised me, but I like it because it puts her over. See, even my daughter loves it. She's saying I love it. But they were hitting each other very hard. I love the spider suplex. Anytime Mercedes busts that out, it looks vicious. And Jamie landed high on her neck, so that was a really good spot right there. And Jamie getting the win, I feel like is progressing to eventually we're gonna get Jamie and Britt. I think that the dissension that they teased months ago, they're gonna pay off later.
Yep, for sure. We then had a little bit of fun. Little bit of a palate cleanser because we got Keith Lee versus QT Marshall. Really good stuff. I love Keith Lee. This was really fun. You know what? I'm becoming a massive fan of QT Marshall. I think that he's done some really good stuff lately. His whole program with Hook has been fantastic. I think he's played his role so well. And this one, there's a couple of the sells that he does in this match. And I'm like, that's just brilliant. Where Keith came in, hit him with the Grizzly Magnum, just bang, 2 on his chest, and he just kept himself stiff as a board and just fell backwards. Didn't brace for impact or anything, didn't crumple, just fell flat on his back. A brilliant little sell from it. Really, really liked it. Keith Lee, of course, got the win. Little bit of distraction shenanigans to give QT a bit of offense in it, but ultimately Keith Lee got the win and then beat up Aaron Solo and Nick Comoroto afterwards as well. But then got beaten up by Team Taz. Powerhouse Hobbs hit a huge spine buster onto Keith Lee, which was delightful. Cool stuff. Big fan all around.
The beefy buster, the beefy spine buster. Yes, it was a lot of beef there. And I'm just going to say, after the whole toss of Orange Cassidy went wrong, I don't feel safe with Keith Lee doing the yeet anymore. Even Aaron Solo, it didn't look like the guys caught him very well, and he landed pretty hard on his head. So maybe we should move away from that. I like this QT little angle right here to kind of build up Keith Lee, and I agree with you. QT Marshall is kind of giving me vibes of Santino in 2007 before his babyface turn, where he's just this over the top jobber who talks this good game to get the people to want to see him get his butt kicked. He's always going to get his butt kicked no matter who's the opponent, but he seems to always get the fans invested in seeing him get shut up. So I like what they're doing with QT Marshall right now. And that the match started off with a massive headbutt, by the way, and that made them have a whole conversation about how big Keith Lee's head was on commentary, which was fun with Ricky Starks with his humor. And I love the Ricky Starks impersonation of Keith Lee as well. I'm liking this whole program with Keith Lee and Team Taz. It's a good way to introduce him to AEW.
For sure. We then had the main event of Swerve Strickland versus Tony Nese. I really liked this match. This was really, really fun. Unsurprisingly, I think both of them are really good wrestlers. And the thing with Swerve is that I'm not really familiar with his pre-WWE work as Shane Strickland. I only really became aware of him properly when he was in NXT. And I always knew that he was a good wrestler. You know, I was like, oh man, he's got such potential to be really, really good. But I felt it was always potential. I never really saw like, you know, the big kind of like blow away. Oh my God, Swerve's here match in like his NXT WWE days. I thought his debut with Hit Row and stuff like that, I was like, this is going to be the thing that makes Swerve like, you know, the big guy kind of thing. That never really materialized. But this match in particular, this was the thing I was like, there it is. There's Swerve. That's why I knew he was a big deal. And he really showed in this match his versatility, his speed, the way he got into some of the moves that he was doing, the way he was rolling around the ring. Like, he has such a unique presence about him and a unique style to the way he wrestles that makes him really stand out as part of this. I thought this was awesome. Really fun stuff.
He's really like a total package. Like anything you would want him to do in the ring, whether it be technical wrestling, high flying, he can do the strikes, he could talk very well. So like Swerve is just a complete package. He's a crossover type of star. So I'm glad that we're hearing a lot of that from like Tony Khan and people in AEW that they view him this way. I felt like this was a great showcase of what he can do with someone who works very well in a Tony Nese. I really enjoyed their pre-main event promos with Tony Nese bringing up that you know, Swerve got all the pop in circumstance. Where was that for me? I had to sit in the crowd for like weeks before y'all even signed me and stuff. So I like that little dynamic going into the match. But yeah, just so many times during this match, I was just like, Swerve is so good. Like, why couldn't they do that with him? And I'm someone that's watched Swerve for a couple of years. I saw him in Lucha Underground as Killshot, and I didn't like it because I was like, you're taking away a lot, because he has great facial expressions as well by putting the mask on him. But his match with Dante, I think it was Dante Fox, was one of the most brutal matches you will ever see on network television. I think it was the God of War matchup. That was ridiculous. And then in NXT, I felt like the breakout match for him was the Santo Escobar Cruiserweight Championship match, I believe, at TakeOver 31. That was the real time that I was like, okay, now they got Swerve. And then that progressed into the creation of Hit Row. I'm hoping that here in AEW, they find a role for him fast, because what seems to be the MO at AEW is when they get someone who's a released WWE talent, they take like 4 to 6 months to kind of see where they can position them, and then they start rolling. I need Swerve to kind of get rolling a lot faster than usual.
For sure. Absolutely. But yeah, really good debut match for Swerve in AEW. Showed everyone who wasn't familiar with his work exactly why they should be excited about him. And my God, he's so charismatic in every single thing he does. I don't know how he does it. He's amazing. This episode of Rampage, nothing too fancy, just some fun matches. It's about it. It's not a very easy show to watch. It was good, you know, not amazing, but it was good. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, an enjoyable hour, and it's the perfect palate cleanser after SmackDown sometimes.
Yeah,
like I literally love the fact that this comes after SmackDown, because although, you know, Tempest, our boy, enjoyed it when it was coming on at 7, to then have that good hour and then go into SmackDown was a totally different feeling about talking about your Friday night afterwards.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But with that said, we need to thank some very special people, and those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on our Patreon page. If you haven't been to our Patreon page yet, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. You really should. There's so much cool stuff over there, and there's going to be some really cool stuff this month as well, because, apt for the timing, Luke and Ollie are going to be reviewing TNA Victory Road 2011 this month for WrestleTalk Extra, which they're going to be recording, I believe, this coming Friday. So you can expect that either Friday or early the week after in your feeds. And we've also got Wrestle League coming up. We've got WrestleMania coming up for Wrestle League, where you can do a bunch of predictions, predict against all the other pledge hammers. And that's going to be the end of this season and the start of the new one across both nights. So get involved with that. And you can get all that for just $5. It's all really cheap. Plus a load of other extra stuff, you know, voting on polls. And if you pledge more, you get WrestleTalk After Dark. And you get, if you pledge at the $25 or above tier, you get your own custom wrestling nickname, and it gets read out on a show, much like this one. So, for today, thank you to, I need to get the shout outs up. Thank you to Barbaric Garrick Morgan. Woo! Thank you.
For LIW's American Muscle, Tyler Gomala.
Thank you so much. The Cleaner, Kenny Shaw. Woo. Thank you.
He can last Sean for longer than you in the ring.
Damn right he can. Thank you so much. Gavin, Cash Money, Kashiwabara. Woo! Thank you.
Rob Steiner, Recliner.
Nice. Thank you. The Baker, Adam Cakebread.
Ooh,
Woo!
yes.
Thank you.
Starbucks, Steven Costa.
Nice. Thank you. Rue the Day, Rory O'Brien Kelly.
Ooh,
Woo!
yes.
Thank you.
The Knight Rider, Kit.
Thank you very much. Need a little build up for this one. Oh, Hannah A, baby. Thank you.
And the Batsman, Nathan Batty.
Nice. Thank you so much. All of our pledge hammers on our Patreon page. Go check that out at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Now let's get into the rest of your Ultra Chats here. Let me get enough on the thing. I didn't get the thing up anymore. Tempest, I'm behind again. Get into the rest of your Ultra Chats here. Last chance to get those in at WrestleTalk.com/support. And of course, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. That is HELP. Go check out betterhelp.com/wrestle. Link is at the top of the description as well. Get 10% off your first month. Go help support yourself, support each other, support WrestleTalk. Everyone help each other. Mental health is super important. Go do the thing. Help yourself. BetterHelp's very cool. Scott Young says, anything that pisses off as many wrestling fans as possible, I am all for. So Butch to me is class. An agent of chaos, I see.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Just wants all the smoke. I totally understand that, though. Yeah, anything that fires up. I'm one of the people that wants Ronda and Charlotte to main event over Bianca and Becky for that reason, so I can understand.
Oh, they will. Oh, they will.
Yes.
100% they will. Yeah. The Sheldon Show said, do you guys remember the amazing Gunther versus Butch match at TakeOver New York? A true 5-star classic. Feel sorry for Dunne, but that's WWE for you. SmackDown was a waste of 2 hours. Any storyline progression would be great, as every week is just filler. Sure is. I agree.
Indeed. And it shouldn't feel like that in WrestleMania season.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Jeffrey said, maybe they didn't want people thinking he was related to Kevin Dunn. Butch was introduced as a nickname and can easily be retconned if they like. Best to eat your fiber. What? Jalapeno's Throne of Mercy? Yeah, support each other. 140 hours into Elden Ring. Help me.
Wow. that was quite the Ultra Chat.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened in that one. Anyway.
Oh, and I see the hashtag in the live chat, Justice for Sheeta. Shout outs to Sheeta for threatening to cut off Serena Deeb's head on Rampage. That was awesome.
I did forget to mention that promo. That promo was very, very good from Sheeta. Really, really liked it. Yeah. Just gonna cut her head off. That's murder. It's murder right there.
I love a good threat of murder on my Friday night.
Yeah, it's great. Nate S said, first off, wishing Biggie well for a full recovery. He's an absolute treasure of a person and deserves the best. Second, I'm a bit worried now Pete Dunne ends up one of those cases where Vince doesn't like his heavy accent and features more as a comedy goon. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty much gonna happen. Yeah,
yep.
You can see it.
Zoe Sung said, the amount of copium Pete is regurgitating about Butch may be working. Pete, it's not going to work. I'm not saying it's going to work. I think it's bad. I just don't care, okay?
It's all about the Butch.
Christ. The poll results, by the way, of what rename was worse, Slapjack or Butch. 56% of people voted for Slapjack. 43% of people voted for Butch. 806 votes total.
Very
Quite
nice.
a lot.
Very nice.
Slapjack is a bad name, I'll give you that. Nate S said that overhead belly to belly has always been one of those moves that scares me every time. Like the Swanton Bomb, they just clear it in time. Do you think WWE bans that move because of this injury? Wouldn't want them to, but they've done it with others in the past.
I can see it, especially with guys of that size, because I think that was like the real issue for Ridge. If a guy that size, if you're not that experienced, it's going to be hard to get him over your head like that.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if they ban overhead belly to bellies, but they could still just do like a normal, belly to belly.
Yeah.
Sheldon Show again said, on another note, Drew versus Corbin may be one of the worst Mania feuds of all time. Literally every week, Drew beats up the villains and makes them look like morons. So why on earth should anyone care about the Mania match? A waste of both men's talents.
Yeah. I mean, why is this even going on until WrestleMania? This started in December.
Honestly, dude, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Whatever. Like, it's fine. Give him it. Whatever. You know what? Have Drew win in like 30 seconds and then have him challenge Roman at WrestleMania Backlash. Fine. Whatever. That's fine. I've seen worse. Honestly, I've seen worse.
True.
Nick Carter said, WWE book their shows like a kid would play with action figures. The more two-dimensional the characters are, the better. Throw them back in the toy box for the day, take them out tomorrow, and do it again.
Yeah. It's like he just throws the toys aside and then he picks it at random. It's not even like the new toy. He just picks another toy to play with.
On the subject of Rampage, Hannah Allen, hello, said, gentlemen, AEW is life. Matt and Jeff together is life. Thank Jeebus. These men have earned our respect regardless of the history. I have a history, one I typically don't talk about. Still there. Unless evil, who cares? Hashtag lots of love. Jam that jam. LAW for life. Thank you so much, Hannah. Zoe Sung said, all right, I get the Swerve hype now. Didn't get it in NXT. Completely understand why now. Also, as much as I want to laugh about Butch from Team Rocket coming to WWE, I was too busy hoping Big E was all right. Please get better soon. Nothing but love for him. Absolutely. Hope he gets better soon. Lakshmi Narasimhan B said, Brock wants blood. Oh no, that's blood and guts. Gory self-mutilation. Also, I'm a fan of Britt Baker DMD, but these interference finishes need to stop. It is happening every singles match involving these three. I agree.
Yeah, it's becoming like House of Torture, evil in New Japan, and you never want that. So hopefully, Steel Cage, Wednesday, we kind of end this Brit run.
Yeah. Mayor Painesville Dan said, hey guys, how you doing? I thought Rampage was rather boring this week. No true development and no too spectacular match. The Hardy Boys entrance was kind of weird as the AFO just walked away and the segment ended. About the name change, Pokemon anime. Yeah, Butch from Pokemon is here now. I can understand if someone found Rampage boring. I didn't personally, just because I feel like there was enough hype with the Hardy Boys coming out, with Swerve's debut, with Keith Lee. I thought there was enough to keep me excited personally, but I can understand why someone would be like, this wasn't spectacular enough. It was just kind of some good matches.
Now, yeah, you really have like that one match that you could say is like great, and especially after last week with that three-way with Sami, Andrade, and Darby, which was on another level. I can understand this was kind of a letdown.
Yeah. Ollie the Quaxley. Great name. Love Quaxley. First of all, lovely to see you, SB3, and happy birthday to you, Much. Oh, that's a joke from the edited WrestleTalk review. I do got to say, though, although I missed SmackDown and Rampage last night, I've started watching Peacemaker, and I love Eagly. I have not seen Peacemaker, so I don't get the reference.
All I will say is Vigilante is GOAT. He is the GOAT of it all, one of the funniest characters in television.
Nice. Maybe I'll watch Peacemaker at some point, but probably not. That is going to do it for the Ultrachats, and that's going to do it for the show today. Thank you so much, SP3, for coming in and stepping in while Tempest is off. Really do appreciate it. Nice to chat wrestling with you again. If you want to watch more SP3, he's going to be helping take over the NXT podcast over on this very channel, the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Him and Sat are going to be taking over the NXT shows. Me and Tempest are stepping away to do other stuff. Also, because we don't want to cover NXT anymore. Also a reason.
Gotta pay our dues.
It was a reason. So yes, you can catch more of SB3 here on the channel soon. Thank you so much for coming out and watching. Really do appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already for more content. Like the video, etc. Go follow SB3 on Twitter as well, at TrueHeelSB3. He's very cool. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We love you very much. Stay safe. Jam that jam. LAW for life, etc. Where's my outro? There it is.